5 habits that make women instantly lose interest. Here's the brutal truth nobody wants to admit. Most men think they're doing everything right when dating, but they're unknowingly sabotaging themselves with behaviors that make women mentally check out before the first date even ends. I'm talking about subtle habits that seem harmless, maybe even polite, but trigger an instant, "this isn't going anywhere" response. And the worst part? You probably don't even realize you're doing them. Listen, attraction isn't logical. A woman can't always explain why she suddenly lost interest. It just happens. But after years of honest conversations, psychological research, and observing what actually works versus what crashes and burns, patterns emerge. Today, I'm breaking down 5 specific habits that kill attraction faster than anything else. And if you recognize yourself in any of these, don't panic. Awareness is the first step to changing the game entirely. Habit 1. Constant validation seeking. Let's start with the most common attraction killer. Fishing for compliments and reassurance like your life depends on it. Picture this. You're on a date, and every 5 minutes you're dropping hints. "I don't know if I'm funny enough." Or, "Do you think this shirt looks okay?" Or the classic, "Are you having a good time?" Be honest. Here's what's happening in her mind. She's not seeing confidence. She's seeing someone who needs her to be his emotional support system before she even knows him. And that's exhausting. Women are attracted to men who have a solid sense of self-worth that doesn't require constant refueling from external sources. It's not about arrogance. It's about being comfortable in your own skin. When you constantly seek validation, you're essentially asking her to do the heavy lifting of building you up. And that's not the dynamic that sparks attraction. The fix? Start validating yourself. Catch yourself before asking, "Was that okay?" And instead trust your own judgment. She'll feel that shift in energy immediately. Habit 2. Being the agreeable ghost. This one's sneaky because men think they're being considerate, but they're actually erasing their own personality. You know the type. "Where do you want to eat?" "I don't care, wherever you want." "What movie should we watch?" You pick. "I'm fine with anything." 0 opinions. 0 preferences. 0 personality. Here's the psychological reality. Attraction needs tension, and tension requires 2 distinct people with their own thoughts, preferences, and occasionally different viewpoints. When you agree with everything she says, never challenge her playfully, and have no strong opinions about anything, you become background noise. Safe. Predictable. Boring. Women don't want a yes man. They want someone who adds something to their life, who introduces them to new perspectives, who isn't afraid to say, "Actually, I think you're wrong about that." With a smile. It creates spark. It creates chemistry. This doesn't mean being contrarian for the sake of it. It means having actual opinions and not being afraid to express them. Order what you actually want at the restaurant. Suggest the movie you're excited about. Disagree when you genuinely disagree. Be a person, not a mirror. Habit 3. Treating her like a therapy session. We need to talk about emotional dumping, because this is where good intentions go horribly wrong. Yes, vulnerability is attractive. Yes, emotional intelligence matters. But there's a massive difference between being open and using someone you barely know as your personal therapist. When you launch into deep trauma, your ex-girlfriend, your complicated relationship with your mother, or your existential crisis about your career on the first few dates, you're not bonding. You're overwhelming her with emotional labor she didn't sign up for. Here's what she's thinking. "I barely know this person, and they're already unloading years of baggage on me. What happens if we actually date? Will I become his free therapist?" Attraction needs a foundation first. You build that through fun, light connection, shared experiences, and gradually increasing intimacy. The deep stuff comes later when there's trust and established emotional infrastructure. The fix? Save the heavy conversations for when you've built rapport. Early on, keep things balanced. Share enough to be real, but don't make every conversation about your problems. And critically, ask about her life with genuine interest. Connection is a two-way street, not a monologue. Habit number 4, being chronically available. Here's where we get counterintuitive. Being too available too soon actually makes you less attractive. I'm not talking about playing manipulative games. I'm talking about the guy who drops everything the second she texts, cancels plans with friends to see her, and essentially puts his entire life on hold because a woman showed interest. The psychology here is simple. Value is partly communicated through scarcity. When you have no boundaries around your time, When you're always free, always waiting, always available at a moment's notice, it subconsciously signals that you don't have much going on. And if you don't value your own time, why should she? Women are attracted to men who have full, interesting lives. Men with passions, friendships, goals, and commitments. Men who say, I'd love to see you, but I have plans tonight. How about Wednesday? That's not playing hard to get. That's having self-respect and a life worth living. The fix? Maintain your life. Keep seeing your friends. Keep pursuing your hobbies. Don't abandon your routine because someone new entered your world. She'll find that way more attractive than someone who's just waiting around for her. Habit number 5. Moving at her pace instead of yours. Final habit, and this might sting, being so afraid of rejection that you never actually lead or make a move. You wait for perfect signals. You overthink every text. You ask permission for everything. Is it okay if I call you? Would you maybe want to go out sometime? Can I kiss you? Everything's a tentative question because you're terrified of misstepping. But here's the reality. Attraction dies in the space of hesitation. Women want someone who can read the situation, feel the moment, and act with confidence. Not recklessness. Confidence. Yes, respect matters. Consent matters. But there's a way to be respectful while still being decisive. Instead of asking if you can kiss her, you create a moment, read her body language, and if everything's saying yes, you go for it. You lead the interaction instead of making her do all the work. The fix? Take calculated risks. Suggest specific plans instead of vague maybes. When the moment feels right, act on it. The worst she can say is no, and you'll respect that. But at least you'll know where you stand instead of living in perpetual maybe land. Look, none of these habits make you a bad person, but they do make you forgettable. The good news? Every single one is fixable once you're aware of it. So here's my challenge. Pick one habit you recognized in yourself and focus on changing it this week. Just one. Because the difference between the guy she loses interest in and the guy she can't stop thinking about often comes down to these small, crucial behaviors. Now go make that shift.